Okay, my friends, it is Monday, April 21st, 2025, and this is a daily brief. My name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide context in the war in Ukraine. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. So, what actually happened with the Easter truce that Putin put forward? Not a lot, and I'll explain what happened and how many casualties and how many things were fired back and forth, and then you can decide what really happened and who's lying about what, because both sides are accusing each other of lying. Okay, so yesterday I showed that there were 900 some odd casualties. It was 980 casualties on the first day, but the first day started at 6 p.m., and so there was most of the day that they could fight. On the day of the entire truce, all Easter Sunday, you had 670 casualties. So even when Russia's not supposed to be fighting, there's still 670 Russian casualties because Russia's still fighting. So that's like, let's say that's a baseline for Russia's aggression against the world. And 670, it struck me this morning how low it was. But I remember a time where I was like 670 casualties, and because it was very high. Like in the early days, it was in the like 300s, 400s, something like that. And 670 would have been ridiculously high. Two tanks off the battlefield. By the way, replacement value. I read another article today talking about replacement value is about 1,500 per year, or about 4 tanks per day. Four tanks replacement, but only 2 tanks off the battlefield, 2 armored fighting vehicles, 10 artillery systems, 50 vehicles and fuel tanks. And again, this was supposed to be a day of truce. Nothing was supposed to be happening. So maybe you could say, oh, it was just those Ukrainians going after Russians. No, they're just fighting back. They were going to mirror whatever the Russians were going to do. Okay. Here's the Russian Defense Ministry claiming that they strictly adhere to ceasefire while the Ukrainians attack. Sure, they do. Here is some analysis, Ragnar Gudmundsson analysis of the Easter truce. No air or missile strikes reported, and considerable reduction in shelling and MLRS strikes, but close to 100 combat engagements and 670 enemy combatants neutralized. 30 drones intercepted, 50 non-armored vehicles, and a few armored ones as well. 2 Ukrainian strikes compared to 33 Russian ones. Okay, so that's what happened in a day. It's like the truce means you just go back about a year and a half, and that's kind of what they experienced. A war in Ukraine's report. Here's the dashboard that he runs, and the dashboard's really interesting because here's the most recent day, 670. It's 40% less than the most recent 7-day average, and yesterday was 20% less than the most recent 7-day average. So, yeah, again, fewest casualties since April 4th of 2024, but still close to 100 engagements. So yesterday was the fewest since August, somewhere in August of 2024, and yesterday since April of 2024. Second fewest land-based equipment losses, slightly more than on January 3rd of this year. Okay, so limited strikes on both sides. Okay, so I mean, it slowed things down, but that's about all that it did. That's the effect of the truce. Zelensky reported that Russian forces did not conduct long-range strikes against Ukraine on the night of April 19th to 20th. I couldn't find anything about the normal missile strikes kind of thing that we see, this sort of thing that we see every day, missiles and Shahed drones. Okay. So that was overnight, the first night, and then the night that was the 19th to 20th, during the day on April 20th, and proposed a temporary moratorium on long-range strikes against civilian infrastructure. So, but again, the moratorium is no longer. Okay, here we are on the night of April 20th to 21st. That's after midnight when the truce ends. Then Russia got busy again, sending Shaheds and missiles. 0 out of 1 Onyx cruise missile knockdown, none out of the 2 KH-31P guided missiles, and 42 of 96 Shahed drones. Another 47 drones were distracted by electronic warfare. So as soon as the Easter truce expired, it was back on right after midnight. Shortly after it ended, Russia launched a wave of Shahed drone attacks on Ukraine. Explosions were reported in Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, Petrovsk, excuse me, Cherasky regions. In total, Russia launched 96 Shahed drones and 3 missiles. 42 drones were shot down. So that's where they are after that. J.P. Lindsley, the journalist, he's in Kharkiv, and he said at this moment, 3:30 a.m., Russian drones are attacking Kharkiv. Putin's Easter truce ended at midnight. You see how cruel and nihilistic this is. A goodwill Easter truce would at least let people sleep after a day with their families and wait till morning to try to kill them. But no, Putin's truce ended at midnight, and immediately he launched attacks. Happy Easter, y'all. Yep. Okay, so what was going on here? This was basically a stunt. Everyone knows it. This is Steve Rosenberg in the BBC. Today, Ukraine accused Russia of breaching the Kremlin's 30-hour ceasefire. Russia accused Ukraine of violating the pause. We all knew that that was going to happen. It was a PR stunt from the beginning. Here's the way he framed it.
At the Cathedral of Christ the Saviour, Vladimir Putin attended Easter Mass. The Russian leader who had invaded Ukraine portrayed here as a man of peace after announcing his Easter truce.
And that's what he's going for. He's trying to look like, look, we wanted a truce, but you know, those bad Ukrainians, you know how they are. Okay, here's RT. Ukraine violated the Easter truce using American HIMARS missiles, according to the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, Maria Zakharova. This is not an accident. It is a pattern. Yeah. Okay, so how did all these Russians die? Was it just they were just sitting in their bunkers innocently, like these 670 casualties? Were they just sitting there going, you know what, we're just eating our Easter cakes, having a truce, or were they dying on the battlefield? That's really the question. So I'll get to that in just a moment. Putin declares a ceasefire. Well, it wasn't quite like this. It wasn't like all missiles, but there was still battlefield conflict, right? Russian forces recently advanced in Kursk Oblast near Touretsk before the start of Easter truce. But what about on the day of the Easter truce? Here's the answer. The occupiers are using the truce to improve their positions, bring provisions, and see and evacuate the dead, according to Deep State. In the Pokrovsk direction, Russian invaders led 36 assaults. Wait a minute. They're leading 36 assaults on the day of the Easter truce? Yes, that's how it went. And then Russian forces are retreating from the western outskirts of Pokrovsk after failing to cut off the Dnipropetrovsk. I got that right this time. Now I can't say Pokrovsk highway, according to a spokesperson. Turning point came when Ukrainian forces recaptured Kotlny. Now the Russians are crawling back. Okay, so they were making these attacks on the day of the truce. As a Ukrainian soldier on the front, I can confirm there was no Easter ceasefire for us, just more drones, more shelling, more wounded. While we prayed for peace, Russia sent fire. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's who they are. Thank you, Mr. President, for telling the world the truth. We fight with faith in our hearts and truth on our side. Let the world see who wants peace and who hides behind lies. Okay, Frontline, Ukrainians F-16 precision strikes decimate Russian forces in Belgorod Oblast. So now I'm not showing you that for that, like go Ukraine, because, well, I mean, I want Ukraine to prevail, right? But still, I'm showing you that to show you this. The main Ukrainian disadvantage in Sumy is that the Russians are concentrating the entirety of their former Kursk contingent in one place, which consists of approximately 62,000 soldiers, only half of the previously active frontline length. So what the whole point of having the Kursk incursion was to try to draw forces up there, and they're able to concentrate this group a little bit more effectively where they are now. Okay, Russian assault on electric scooters. Again, if I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. But yeah, these guys are on scooters. Here's a couple down here. Here's another coming to join the fight. Yeah, that's just, it's all bad. Here's a guy on a scooter getting, close up from a drone. Let's say it like that. Okay, other news. Russian education system is highly likely becoming increasingly politicized and militarized and ideologically driven, according to the British intelligence update. In accordance with the Russian state's broader objectives, this continues a trend which has notably increased since Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Independent Russian media outlet reports that growing prevalence of text in support of the so-called special military operation and anti-West work, Soviet literature, patriotic pro-Russian military texts in schools. They also highlight examples of Russian authorities ordering references to Ukraine to be removed from textbooks. How about that? Russian state is highly likely seeks to use the education system to develop a more militarized, nationalistic society. So they're building this direction. It's not just like, just get Ukraine and be done. No, they're grooming the next generation that direction. Okay. 2024 U Strategy spoke of the importance of increasing the prestige of the military service and providing support to young military personnel and their families. The intent is almost certainly to facilitate both deeper support for Russia's illegal war against Ukraine and greater willingness amongst the young to join a military suffering significant casualties. These efforts also seek to indoctrinate Russia's young into a rejection of the legally mandated and internationally recognized basis for Ukraine's nationhood and sovereignty. Okay, so, yep, this ideological indoctrination is intentional, it's ongoing, and it's looking toward the future. It's not just trying to fix what's going on in their problem with the special military operation today. Okay, here's a Ukrainian interceptor drone taking down Russian four-post UAV at 4 kilometers in altitude. Now, they're watching something else. This thing is pretty interesting because this is a significant reconnaissance UAV, and it's actually similar in its function to a Bayraktar. So taking that thing down was great because these things could carry significant, not just do significant reconnaissance, but carry a payload where they could do some real damage as well. And then on the ground with the ground drones, Russians showcased their disposable ground suicide drones designed to attack fortifications and equipment. These remotely controlled explosive-laden platforms target frontline objectives. Now, I've said before that I don't understand how these things can be so powerful or even more powerful than what aerial drones are, but apparently they can be pretty impressive. They can scoot around and now if you couple it with an aerial drone, especially, it can see a lot and get directed to where it needs to go. So maybe that's part of the puzzle. But remember, this is like a suicide bomber. That's what this thing is. So it's going to go find a place and blow itself up, and that's going to have a tremendous effect on the battlefield, unfortunately. Okay, RT is reporting a breakthrough test of non-nuclear hydrogen bomb in China. Fireball created 15 times more effective than TNT equivalent, and no nuclear material is needed. So we just keep working our ways toward darker and darker times. It can just hand Musk any ridiculous piece of disinformation, and he'll dutifully pass it into the minds of hundreds of millions. Now, I don't know that Russians pass this along, but Elon Musk was posting this. Just let this sink in. Ukrainian officials released the kickback numbers that they gave U.S. politicians. Really? Like they're releasing that? Or, I mean, okay, whatever. And they're giving kickbacks of what, 92 million according to this. It's just a meme. There's no citations or anything. 92 million to Joe Biden, 89 million to Mitch McConnell, 86 million to Nancy Pelosi, 66 million to Chuck Schumer, 82 million to Lindsey Graham, 71 million to Mitt Romney, 41 to John Cornyn. And so basically, this goes down the list looking at people that are most supportive of Ukraine on the left or the right side of the aisle and says that, there's a kickback from Ukrainian politicians to support them. It's a TikTok that is not cited that, okay, at any rate, people will believe all kinds of things, and this will get passed along because on Twitter, disinformation travels 6 times faster, according to an academic study, legitimate academic study. Lies travel 6 times faster than truth does on Twitter. Okay, but I'll leave you with this. Did you know that by replacing your potato chips with grapefruit as a snack, you can lose up to 90% of what little joy you still have left in your life? All right, my friends, that's all that I have for you today. Thank you for your time, the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and the coffees. And thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.